August 17th, 2018. Vocal practice session. Part 1. Vocal warm-ups and exercises. In my experience, the practice you do before a show is not what makes a great performance. I believe that consistency is key. It's what you do in between your shows rather than what you do right before. A few weeks ago, my band had a show at the Horseshoe Tavern, and I thought it was pretty good, but there are definitely some areas that I'd like to even out before the next show. So I've committed myself to a scheduled practice routine every day, and that really got me thinking about how important our habits of practicing really are. So I'm going to talk with the other band members and discuss some ideas that I had myself about how to really build a good practice routine, how to build that scheduled activity every day that will create the performance when it eventually comes. To start us off, later today I'm going to talk to Kevin Zhang, the bass player of Electric Influence, and David, the keyboard player of Electric Influence, to see if they have any cool practice techniques. Looks like it's time to go. So I'm here with Kevin Zhang, the bass player of Electric Influence, and David, the keyboard player of Electric Influence, and I'm really curious to hear about their practice techniques when we're in between shows. So we'll start with Kevin Zhang. Do you have anything to say about practice techniques?
Well, I guess the most important thing about practice is mainly consistency. And then I think the most important thing as a bassist is that you got to be consistent with the drummer and the tempo and the groove. I guess a key question here is, how do you practice without the drummer? Well, the obvious answer will be to practice with the metronome, but more importantly, listen to the song, listen to the drum components, like make sure the notes are consistent with the kick, with the toms, and every component of the drum. And the second thing about bass is that it's not an instrument that needs to stand out in the whole mix, but instead you have to it's important for keeping the whole. It's like it keeps the whole. It keeps the whole body of the song consistent. So okay, I want to talk about techniques, right? So what I usually like to do is that how you usually play bass with two fingers, right? And sometimes that allows you to control the power nicely. Sometimes you can play it louder to make sure your bass tone sticks out in the mix when the guitar or vocals or drums are too loud. But at other times, I find that it is important that you have to kind of lower the volume and let the other instruments take precedence. So how do you do that without changing the volume knob, that is? So what I usually like to do is instead of using the two-finger approach, I like to usually switch to a finger picking technique using my thumb, my index finger, and my middle finger. It's kind of like the way you play acoustic guitar. And also sometimes I like to do some palm muting, so it doesn't, the buzz of other strings doesn't interfere with the note that you're playing. So I guess if you practice a lot, you're going to find more techniques that you'll be comfortable with. And then I find that it is also important to practice with and without the metronome to make sure that you are familiar with the techniques and you can apply them during the actual live show. Yeah, so for example, if you came to our last concert, we played this song called Leaves, and the intro was a bass intro, as well as I'm Back, right? So the technique I'm going to show you, what I talked about earlier with the two finger, is right? That's the two fingers. That gives the bass a lot of presence, a lot of energy. But then if you want to because everything else is low, right? You want the bass to be low as well. So what do you do without changing the volume knob? Here's what you do. So on my right hand over here, we got to do a little bit of palm muting. That's for making sure the vibration of the other bass strings don't interfere with the note you play. And then we put our thumb. Well, actually, we just need to use our thumb, our index finger, and our middle finger to play the notes. For example, Like you can't really hear it right now, but then compared to just as a demonstration again, it's I'm back. Versus yeah, so something like that. But the last part you can cut that out because it's irrelevant. So let's just do it one more time just so you understand. Versus yeah, something like that.
Awesome. Yeah, that's great.
Cool. Yeah, so then that's a technique that I've discovered through like just practicing on my own time, figuring stuff out. Yeah. Yeah, bass is a cool instrument, right?
So, David, what has been useful for practicing for an upcoming show?
Well, at least for me, I have a background playing classical piano. So, being the keyboardist for Electric Influence, a lot of my passages require good technique. So, when I'm practicing at home, normally I'll go through the scales and other sorts of pre-performance exercises that I normally did back then when I was practicing classical piano. In addition, I think it's good to have a change of the types of music that you're practicing. So it's sometimes it benefits you to play some other songs aside from your normal set list in order to possibly draw on some more influences from these other types of music.
So, by drawing on your outside influences, do you mean drawing on your electric influences?
Yes, I do mean my electric influences.
What the fuck?
And also for electric influence, what's for the music that I normally play during the shows, it's a little bit different from what I'm used to with my classical background. With classical background, the practice and the music is a lot more regimented compared to the music that we do for electric influence. So it's also good to try to expand your creativity when playing your keyboard parts and try to figure out some new interesting ways of playing the same part of music.
Awesome. Do you have a favorite electric influence song to play?
In my opinion, I actually like all the songs in the album, but I would say that my favorite song would be Reaching to the Skies.
Good, good, good. So there you go. Those were Kevin and David's best tips for practicing bass and keyboard. I think we're going to end the video there. In the next part, we're going to go over Matthew and Logan's tips for practicing guitar and drums. So hope you found that helpful. Make sure to check out our music on Spotify under the name Electric Influence. We're also on SoundCloud, Deezer, Amazon Music, Google Play Music, YouTube Music, wherever you'd want to check for music, we're probably there. And we also have a website, einfluencemusic.com, so make sure to check us out. Hope you enjoyed the video, and be sure to subscribe and stay tuned for the next one.